The Chief Minister says freight movements are already improving, with more lorries crossing the frontier now than on a typical day. Fabian Picardo also says problems with the airport e-gates will hopefully be resolved by next week. Police statistics suggest no immediate increase in crime in the weeks after treaty implementation. And a research briefing on the treaty is published by the House of Commons. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. The Chief Minister says businesses and customs are still adapting to the new treaty customs arrangements 3 weeks after implementation. Fabian Picardo said some disruption had always been expected as new EU systems and procedures were introduced. He added that freight movements are already improving, with more lorries crossing the frontier now than on a typical day pre-treaty. On the GFSB's flash poll, Mr. Picardo said the findings did not challenge what the government says is happening in Main Street.
Well, I don't think it's something that has gone wrong. I think this is a process of change. You know, we are, I was just trying to work out in my head because it felt longer, but we're only 3 weeks into the operation of these new arrangements. And in the context of that, you've got to remember that we had the La Linea Fare, which started a few days after the operation of the treaty. Now, that might sound like something that should be completely unrelated to the ability to get goods in and out of Gibraltar. But logistically, because of where the La Linea Fare was, it was creating a huge problem for lorries to be able to be stacked and to be able to, once they'd done their clearance, be able to come in through the commercial gate. They had to go back into the queue. Again, an accident of traffic management on the Spanish side for which we cannot blame them. This is the reality of space. So that caused a problem. The other issue is a new technical system the EU is implementing for goods coming into Gibraltar and the new forms. That was always going to be challenging. Whenever you have a change of system, it's going to be challenging. This is not a question of not being prepared. This is of however well prepared you are. The minute that you start the new system, it's going to cause delays. Yesterday, we had 277 trucks come through the commercial gate. When we didn't have the new arrangements, the average number of trucks we would get in each day was 250. So everything is starting to become easier. I'm not surprised that there were these issues in the beginning, but many of our businesses were careful enough to ensure that they were fully stocked before the changeover, because everybody could see that however well prepared you might be, this was always going to be an initial change shock.
So looking back, should these issues have perhaps been anticipated or problems perhaps planned in advance?
They were. We knew that.
But were
this
there
was
solutions in place?
Well, as many solutions as it was possible to have in place. I mean, of course there are issues, and we're learning from everything that we planned for and everything that we tested. You know, like in every situation, you have the best plan, and that plan lasts as long as the day that you implement it. And then you realize that there were things that you can do in an even better way than you planned. But let's not have other people pretend that they could have planned better or that they would have, guided this process in a better way, because the public servants of Gibraltar who have done this work have done it very, very diligently. And I think the evidence demonstrates that the issues that we've had, when we look back in history, 10, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, this will not even be a blip. People will not even describe these issues as teething problems. When you teeth, it takes time for your tooth to come out. This has been moments in the context of the operation of this treaty.
So businesses have reported delayed consignments, missing goods, and some confusion over the new product codes with customs. What action is government taking to make sure that the backlog is being cleared, and perhaps is there any way to simplify the process?
So look, we're down to, as far as I understand it, one particular business having a problem now. We sent them 5 customs officers yesterday to help them with the new codes, to help them with the way that they're going to catch up with their backlog. It's an important business that provides supplies to individuals and to businesses in Gibraltar. They've had difficulties because their computer systems were not adapted to the new realities. We're working with them to see whether we can develop with them an interface between their systems and our systems to make things even easier in the future. The government is there to help. We want our businesses to thrive. I'm very interested in this flash poll that you're talking to me about, because
this is the GFSB flash poll.
It's talking to me about procedural difficulties. It's not talking to me about what's happening in Main Street. And it doesn't challenge what we've said is happening in Main Street, which is that we're seeing the benefits of the treaty already manifesting themselves in the context of our retail sector and our hospitality sector, let alone all the other things that the treaty has done. You've got to compare not with the day before the treaty, but what the day after would have been without a treaty. That is a reality that we have not seen visited on Gibraltar because of the work that the government has done.
On the subject of Schengen checks for airport arrivals, the Chief Minister says problems with the airport e-gates will hopefully be resolved this week or next. Fabian Picardo told GBC a software issue has meant the e-gates are not able to process Gibraltar residents and EU citizens. Because of this, Gibraltar residents coming home are having to go through checks with both Gibraltar and Spanish authorities. Mr. Picardo said third country nationals, such as those from the UK, are able to use the e-gates after previously having gone through the European entry-exit system.
Well, the gates are working for the third country nationals. Remember that we also said, and I explained in the video that I put on social media, and I think GBC very kindly reported on, that the e-gates are not yet working for two classes of individuals, Gibraltar residents and EU citizens. So it's not as if Spaniards and other EU nationalities are being treated better than Gibraltarians. Gibraltarians and EU nationals, including Spaniards, are being treated in the same way. We cannot use the e-gate at the moment, and third country nationals, which includes the majority of those arriving from the United Kingdom who are British citizens, who do EES, are able to use the e-gates once they've done EES. That's because of a software update that's being done by a French company that operates the Schengen facilities. We're told that that will be resolved, hopefully, during the course of this week, with the implementation of the new software having been properly tested on the ground early next week. So we're all very keen to see the e-gates work so that we don't have to have the manual check carried out. The manual check is a very lax check for the majority of Gibraltar residents, as long as your ID card is not expired. And so hopefully by the beginning of next week, the testing will happen, and during the course of next week, we'll see the e-gates operating for all. So you've got 6 e-gates, 3 of which are for EU residents and Gibraltar residents, 3 of which are for third country nationals, the ones that are working and the ones that are working for third country nationals.
One of the concerns ahead of the frontier changes was that an open border could lead to more crime. Figures provided by the Royal Gibraltar Police to GBC do not suggest any immediate increase in the specific offences that we asked about. Comparing the first 2 weeks of July with the second half of the month, most of the offences GBC asked about remained stable or fell. There were no residential burglaries during either period. Non-dwelling burglaries remained unchanged. There were 2, while shoplifting and motorcycle helmet thefts went down. There were, however, small increases in the number of attempted burglaries and the number of bicycle thefts. The figures do not suggest any immediate surge in these types of offences since the treaty's implementation, although the figures cover only the first 2 weeks since the removal of the physical border. This represents a very limited snapshot. Elsewhere, the House of Commons Library has published a new research briefing on the UK-EU Treaty for Gibraltar, setting out its provisions, implementation and the remaining steps towards formal ratification. The report is led by researcher Stefano Fella, with the contributions from Lee Gibson on law enforcement and Dominic Webb on the economy and on trade. It has been produced to support the work of MPs, and it's not intended as legal advice. The treaty has applied provisionally since the 15th of July, after Gibraltar passed the necessary domestic legislation and the UK, Spain and EU completed the required administrative arrangements. Formal ratification is still pending. In the UK, the treaty is undergoing parliamentary scrutiny under the Constitutional Reform and Governance Act, with the first objection period ending on the 22nd of October. The European Parliament must also give its consent before the EU Council formally concludes the agreement. The UK government expects both sides to complete ratification in early 2027. Meanwhile, the Chief Minister has welcomed the appointment of the UK's new Minister for the Overseas Territories. Fabian Picardo took part in the first meeting between elected leaders of the British Overseas Territories and Uma Kumaran MP, who succeeds Stephen Doughty in the role. Mr. Picardo thanked Mr. Doughty for what he described as his rock-solid support during Gibraltar's treaty negotiations and said he looked forward to working with Ms. Kumaran in the interests of Gibraltar and the Overseas Territories. Reception centres in Algeciras and La Línea are waiting a decision on whether unaccompanied migrant children from Ceuta will be transferred to mainland Spain following last week's migration crisis. The Spanish authorities report that more than 1,000 children are now being cared for in Ceuta after the mass crossing from Morocco, leaving the city's reception system operating far beyond capacity.
Ceuta's president, Juan Jesus Vivas, has appealed to the Spanish government and the country's autonomous regions for help, describing the situation as absolutely at its limit. Neither the Andalusian regional government nor Spain's central government has confirmed whether children will be transferred to reception centres in the Campo de Gibraltar. The region has 2 centres capable of accommodating unaccompanied minors, one in Algeciras and another in La Línea. Meanwhile, the Guardia Civil and the National Police continue to maintain an enhanced security presence along the strait after several migrant boats reached the Campo de Gibraltar over the weekend. Spanish authorities say the number of attempted crossings has fallen in recent days, although maritime patrols remain in place amid concerns that people smuggling networks could seek to exploit the continuing humanitarian crisis in Ceuta.
You're watching GBC News. Still to come, Jib Oil investigates the potential contamination of a fuel tank at its station next to the sundial. And what should you do with those school uniforms your kids have grown out of? Generous hearts have the answer. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Stay with us. Welcome back. Jib Oil is investigating the potential contamination of one of its fuel tanks at its Winston Churchill Avenue service station. The petrol station was closed for a period yesterday while testing was carried out. GBC understands the issue is thought to have arisen from a fuel delivery. As a result, one of the pumps was identified and isolated. The station has since reopened as normal, with work continuing to pump fuel out of that tank to access its sensors before pumping it back in. Using CCTV footage, 4 vehicle owners who use the pump have been contacted. Inquiries are ongoing. Now, over the last few months, GBC has featured a number of reports on macaque sculptures, part of the Jump Around Jib sculpture trail organised by the Growing Artists programme. Our reporter Claire Hernandez has very excitedly followed the trail, ticking off all 10 macaques as she went.
If you've got a few hours free and are looking for something fun to do, how about following a sculpture trail? 10 1.5 metre tall macaques dotted around the rock from the airport to Europa Point are becoming a firm favourite with tourists and locals. Organised by the Growing Artists programme, maps of the trail are available at their premises in Irish Town.
I've got my map. Let's jump around Jib.
The sculptures have all been painted by local artists, schools and organisations. And they're all named after real Barbary macaques currently living on the rock.
Sculpture number 1 at Gibraltar Airport, Scrappy's Welcome. Yep, it's Scrappy all right, and he's welcoming everyone to Gibraltar.
In the map, you've got a list of the sculptures, their names and locations. It's a handy tick list so you can keep track of the ones you've visited. The macaques feature different themes and aspects of life in Gibraltar while providing a colourful, fun subject for photos. Some are a little more hidden away than others, but with 5 sculptures within the town area, you're sure to be able to tick them all off your list. These fun, bright sculptures are definitely starting to get noticed. And no need to worry about the weather. The macaques have all been coated, so the paint shouldn't fade throughout the sunny months or crack during the winter. If you haven't seen the sculptures yet, they'll be in place for a year, so that gives locals plenty of time to seek them out. From local landmarks and beaches, flora and fauna, mandalas and abstract art, the colourful sculptures have something for everyone. I wonder what the macaques make of Navigator Nelson up at Ape's Den.
We did it. Sculpture number 10, Earthy Esmeralda, here at Europa Point. It's a bit of a windy trail, but we completed it.
Well, the wind didn't put everyone off. Esmeralda was one of the most photographed macaques when we completed the trail. The Growing Artists programme invites you to find the macaques, take photos, tag Jump Around Jib. You might even get the chance to win a mini sculpture.
Yeah, do keep an eye out for them next time you're out. Now, Generous Hearts Charity is helping to ease the financial pressure on local families at their annual uniform drives this month. Looking further afield, the charity's volunteers are also trying to get aid to Ceuta, which they say has become increasingly difficult since the recent migrant crisis. Charity volunteers Daphne Miguel-Trico and Rosana Olivares were on Gibraltar today.
We're talking about for a child, and I've gone down, halfway. You can spend like about £300 to kit out a child, and that's just buying one of each. Sometimes they do need like two polo shirts, but it's about £300. So, and we think that why not use what we are doing and giving out the pre-loved school uniforms that people donate. These are all donations that people hand in during the year, and what we do is we put them to the side, keep them, and then like we did last Monday, we put them out to the general public. Anybody can come and take these pre-loved uniforms. They're in good state, they can be used again. They have a lot of life in them still, and like I said, anybody can come and take whatever it is like they like, whatever they need.
Well, Daphne, you're definitely a familiar face when it comes to the charity. Rosanna, not so much your first time, I believe, on Gibraltar today. So tell us a little bit more about your link with the charity and in particular with the immigrants situation at the moment in Ceuta.
I've been doing charity work, I think, since I was 10.
Wow.
So, but the thing is that I'm not one to go out a lot on public media. But what's happening now is that my husband and I, and also Hedley and Daphne, we've been going to Ceuta for over 17 years, taking all the mainly men's clothes for 5 different charities there. But what has come out on television now is most of the clothes that I had to send to a place in Spain for them to collect, because now they're not allowing us to go directly with our boat to Ceuta. Mm-hmm. For me, it's very easy. We just load the boat up. In 1 hour, we're in Ceuta. And sometimes my grandchildren also come to help. We unload everything, and every bag has a different color ribbon. So every charity collects what belongs to them. But now I'm asking for help with anybody who can help me with the bureaucracy, because last year we went to Ceuta, and there's a change in the Guardia Civil or the Policía Nacional, and they sent us back with a boat full. And it's very heartbreaking because all the blankets, I had washed all the sleeping bags, we had washed, everything was clean, because the people there don't have any facilities. And it's something that I've been doing for 17 years, and it's very annoying that you try to do good and they make you feel as if you were doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm. So you're trying to find a way around it so you can continue helping.
Well, I'm going to try again. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to try again.
Mm-hmm. And that's all from tonight's news. More online, more on our socials, as well as on our Radio Gibraltar news summaries on the hour, every hour. That's from 7 o'clock in the morning. Just before we go, though, we leave you with some impressive footage of a few of the thousands of black kites which have been flying across our skies in recent days, together with some really impressive close-ups. From the team, from myself, thanks for watching. Good night.